Hello everyone, and thank you for coming to the AIXR Ask Me Anything series for the VR Awards winners. I'm Mark Baxter, I'm the co-founder of Digitalnauts. We build and implement immersive technology as a service, and we provide leading organizations with the best-in-class cloud platform for them to manage it. I'm also a member of the enterprise board at the AIXR, and I was also one of the judges for the VR Marketing of the Year Awards. So today with me is Chris Hilton from Ogilvy. Chris, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, this is Chris Hilton from Ogilvy in Japan. They're currently their head of strategy for experience. So looking across all things customer engagement experience, and over the last couple of years, everything sort of Web3 and Metaverse related.
Excellent, thank you. So Chris, before we get into it, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your background and what it is that you do at Ogilvy?
Yeah, sure. So as the head of strategy for experience, I look after a couple of areas. First area would be sort of customer transformation, which we sort of class as customer understanding. I look after all of the data and analytics teams for Japan as well. So everything from
Oh dear, I think we might have just lost Chris. Oh.
Apologies, lost my connection there.
Yeah, I just seen you coming back in from the back of the theater.
Yeah, it just kicked me out.
Sorry, if you want to start that again.
Yeah, so head of strategy, data analytics is a space that I'm looking after. We also do a lot of stuff around CRM and loyalty, connections planning, so full campaign, full funnel planning, acquisition based marketing as well. But over the last sort of, I guess, 5-6 years personally, I've taken a massive interest into all things crypto, blockchain, Web3. And over the last 2.5 years within Ogilvy, been leading the sort of the Metaverse offering and helping clients navigate what is a very unusual, crazy space at the moment. We have more questions than we have the answers for, but it's been a good ride so far, navigating this crazy space we're all calling the Metaverse at the moment.
Yeah, excellent. We'll definitely touch on that a little bit later on. So for everybody who isn't familiar with the project, the Shibuya project Shibuya is one of the most iconic neighborhoods in Tokyo. And every year they have a big event for Halloween, and it's attended by thousands from all over the world. But obviously in 2020, this couldn't happen because of the dreaded pandemic. So in response to this, Chris and his team put together this project to basically get people still attending and still interacting with a lot of the stuff that would be there at the event. So Chris, can you tell us a little bit more from your side about the event and what the sort of mission plan is from the outset for yourself?
Sure. So the campaign, and we've got a video, we'll show a little case study video shortly. The event, this campaign or event or platform, I guess it's all of the above, is been brought out of COVID. We originally had a physical activation for a brand, which was in 2020, which was going live in Shibuya. COVID hit, the streets locked down. I think most countries and cities were sort of locked down and the streets were empty at that point. We were very lucky enough that one of our key clients, AU Mobile and KDDI, have an innovation team whereby we were playing with this virtual platform, and we sort of brought that into hyperspeed and really brought this platform a lot further than what it originally had been. So we basically created taking the physical world events that we had planned for certain brands and brought them into a physical world. This platform's transformed massively over the last 2 years with what has been possible with it, what we can track, what consumers can do, what brands are capable of doing with customers. So it's come a really, really long way. Can we show the case study video? Do we have that available?
Yeah, Adam, do you mind showing up the case study video?
Shibuya City, the iconic center of Tokyo's youth culture, also aimed to become Japan's future tech hotspot. At the same time, KDDI, Japan's biggest telecom, wanted an engaging platform to demonstrate their 5G credentials. So, in partnership, they built Japan's most advanced metaverse, Shibuya Virtual City. The city's virtual twin was first launched during the pandemic-ridden Halloween of 2020, replacing the city's massive holiday gathering spot with an event filled with even more visitors who enjoyed a variety of top-name entertainment along Shibuya's virtual streets. But what started as a safe alternative to gathering in the streets for Halloween took on a virtual life of its own in 2021. With more events planned, visitors were able to create more avatars from a greater variety of sources. And once exported into the Shibuya Virtual City platform, friends could meet and chat on the virtual streets.
カズ、
マリコ、ここで何してるの？
ちょっとブラブラしてるだけ。
じゃあ一緒にラフォーレに行かない？
Or go shopping within fashion-forward stores like La Forêt, as well as hotspots like Atmos, the legendary sneaker store, enabling V-commerce for the first time in Asia. At the 2021 Halloween event, the activities were so varied, salaried guides were recruited and employed to help visitors find their way, or even capture their experience with a photo.
1, 2, 3, cheese!
The 150 guides hired included those who'd been laid off due to the pandemic, as well as many disabled, who found they were in no way disadvantaged working in the virtual world. By continually developing and enhancing the Metaverse platform, Shibuya Virtual City has attracted more visitors than they'd imagined and gained more coverage than any brand could have afforded, while creating Japan's most advanced virtual experience.
結構リアルだなという
すごいですね。見覚えのある街並みだったり、渋谷そのものという感じでしたが。
Fantastic. I think one of the things that really stands out to me from that video is the fact that you actually had to employ 150 guides to be involved and take people through it. That's just how many people there were engaging with this platform.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things, an exciting but also quite nerve-wracking part of this project. It's a lot bigger than what we ever thought it would be, and it does keep growing month on month, year on year. We did have that many people engaged, and the engagements that people can go through is obviously expanding. So to have the guides there to tell people where they can start shopping through e-commerce, where we're doing limited edition Nike drops that are only available within this metaverse space. There's the latest talk show happening with a certain celebrity, concert or a DJ. It's great to sort of get them involved to make them feel a part of something, because again, this would have happened in the physical world. We wanted to try and bring every type of interaction in that physical world of Shibuya through Halloween into the virtual space.
Yeah, well, one of the things that really stood out to me as a judge as well when I was looking at this compared to some of the other ones was just the scale. This is an incredibly ambitious project. How did you even start going on about this? Did AU approach you? Did you approach AU as a customer and say, look, we've got this concept? I know you said that you were already dabbling with these ideas in the past, but to actually get something to execute at this scale, not only that, but one of the other things that a lot of people might not know is this was actually officially endorsed by the city of Shibuya, because it's such an important thing to them, this festival. What was the beginning of this?
Yeah, so if I take a step back, KDDI, obviously one of the biggest mobile telecommunication brands in Japan, are quite forward-thinking. They've been a client of ours for a very, very long time. Internally to them, they have, I'll call it an innovation center. This is a team of people that are constantly pushing the boundaries of what technology can do, more importantly, what 5G can do, right? I mean, if we look at any major mobile telecommunication player pushing 5G as a product, I think for them, from a marketing perspective, is huge, right? And the biggest one that we sort of look at constantly is latency, right? 5G is going to kill latency, which I think it does when you've got certain experiences built for the right platform. So there was a very, very rough shell of a concept that had existed that we were building with them. But again, as I said before, COVID hit and we sort of had to put this project into hyperspeed or think of a very quick solution whereby we could take a physical event that we had planned and bring it into the digital space. We actually had it was an activation for actually Netflix for launching one of their new shows, which we were doing in Shibuya. So we brought that into the digital world. There's a massive team behind this project, everything from strategists to creatives to back-end tech to the innovation teams at KDDI. We've got a lot of partners running to fuel a lot of the back-end technology for this platform as well. So it's definitely a team effort amongst a lot of different players, very much fueled from COVID. You know, we had the canvas of a virtual world, but we populated that very, very quickly within the digital space, really based off the Halloween and events that we were going to do. We mimicked what we were doing in the physical world. And from there, over the last 2 years, we've built out a lot of different other interactions and engagements.
Yeah, you can tell a lot of work went into putting something like this together. What would you say to anybody who's interested in getting into something like this? Where would, like maybe as a brand, for example, what would you say was a starting point for them to get involved in such a thing?
I think that's interesting. I think the use case and what you want to do, I think there's a very big difference between building your own platform and then playing in a space that already exists today. In the last 12 months, if you look at the space, there's a lot of these virtual worlds that have popped up. We've got things like the Sandbox, Centraland. There's a lot of centralized and decentralized, I'll call them metaverse platforms available. Right, the one that made this unique is that it was built from scratch, and the reason for it was to showcase 5G technology. Right, if brands wanted to jump into this space today, I think the important thing to understand, and this is where our strategy team did such a great job, is very, very difficult to just take traditional marketing and advertising and throw it into the metaverse. Right, you can't take an outdoor ad or an outdoor activation and try and mimic it and expect the same result with the same interaction. So understanding subculture, community, and audience within these platforms is key. We were lucky that we could design everything from scratch. Japan as a market, as I'm sure everyone knows, already has a massive fascination with everything mobile gaming, VR. You know, we are a gaming culture. Right, and people take to this technology very, very quickly, of all ages too, by the way. This is not just for a 10-year-old kid. You know, the demographics within this platform cover everything from 10 to 75. So I think understanding the audience is going to be absolute key for any brand to jump into this space, right? And understanding what value you are bringing to the audience to keep them, right? I mean, myself and everyone here has an attention span of about 1.5 seconds, right? We lose interest very, very quickly. You know, we're a generation of having everything today, right? And not waiting tomorrow. So to hold attention and capture engagement really stems from audience understanding, platform understanding, and bringing value to an experience, not just bringing more marketing and advertising.
Yeah, very much so. At the end of the day, if you're not bringing value, then people aren't going to engage with it. So would you say that, how many activities were there for the users to come in and actually interact with within it? I mean, obviously there was quite a few, there was quite a number that was shown in this video. You could see there was multiple brands involved as well. You know, it wasn't just EU Mobile, there was other brands in here. So how many sort of activities were there for people who come and visit this platform? What could they do and how long did they spend in it?
Yeah, okay. So I think the platform's been around for 2 years, right? When its first iteration was very, very simple. And to be honest, the iteration of this platform really does mimic Web 1, 2, and 3 perfectly in order. I think the first iteration was purely watch a live concert. So enter this space, right? Watch a live concert, which was one of the big Japanese pop bands. They did a thing for Netflix. You can watch, you know, the latest trailers. I believe it was Ghost in a Shell 2 years ago, right? So it was very it was very single-faced immersive for the consumer, but there was not a lot of interaction. From there, we constantly took learnings to then go, okay, what if consumers can now create their own avatar? What if they could talk to each other? What other experiences are people missing out on? And again, because of COVID and the events that are missed in the physical space, that we can start to bring in. So you saw in the case study, we've now got multiple different type of engagements that are offered to consumers. There's everything from watching films, entertainment, watching a space like what we are now, right? Talk panels and talk show hosts are sitting around chatting to the latest influencers and bloggers. You can chat to the latest celebrities. You can now go a step further, and we brought in e-commerce, right? We partnered with Atmos, right, which obviously is a boutique luxury sneaker brand. They do a lot of exclusive drops. How do we start doing exclusive products in a virtual space that are only available in this virtual space that are then sent to your apartment or to your door in the physical world? So we brought in e-commerce. The social interaction, I think, is a big one. Recently, we've started to, we understand there's a lot of different platforms, a lot of different avatars. Altspace has an avatar, Sandblocks has an avatar, Decentraland have different avatars. We then started to create programs that bring in avatars from any type of platform to be used in this space. It's giving audiences more creativity and more freedom to be themselves in this virtual world. So the engagements are somewhat endless, and I think they're only going to get better and more customizable. I think is the important one, especially if you look at the differences between centralized and decentralized platforms. Some of the opportunities that will actually come forward out of this platform.
Yeah, definitely. I will touch on sort of centralized and decentralized in the metaverse shortly, but for just now, I want to keep away from the more technical details right now. But the fact that you've managed to get avatars in from various platforms, you're pulling, you're really focused on the consumer here. You can see that that's really obvious, but the technical challenges around that must have been pretty vast. And I would imagine. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think consumer centric, I think, is the important one. The technology and the tech behind these sort of spaces is not as technical as some people think. I mean, the avatar example, that's just us rendering avatars from one platform to another. We're essentially creating. I mean, it's not technically shifting one avatar from one platform to another. Rendering and recreating avatars that are based off artwork from different platforms. So it's actually a lot more simple than some people can perceive it to be.
Okay, well, I think you're being quite modest there, but it's good it's good to hear. And I would imagine then that an event of that capacity, and I think I'm correct in saying 400,000 during the campaign period. Is that the correct numbers?
Yeah, we've topped out, I think, well over 500,000 in a single.
Fantastic.
And what makes the platform, the reason we know we're on a win with this platform is that even when we are not running an activation or event within the platform, people still go in it daily, walk around an empty city. So we know we're on a bit of a win with this one, which is great.
Yeah, that's a marketer's dream to keep coming back. And and as I was saying, I would imagine then that with that number of people, must have been a lot of user-generated content as well, especially even after the event. He says a lot of people coming back, but during and after, there must have been a lot of content, not only on the platform itself, if users are able to create their own platform and leave their own mark on it, but also perhaps in social media outside of that. What sort of engagement did you see there?
Look, I think every one of these campaigns has been a PR marketer's dream for the agency and for the client. This is a space that is very new and very exciting when you're dropping things like Web3, Metaverse, and virtual reality into marketing and advertising today, especially after and during the pandemic. The numbers that we've seen, even just from a TV PR perspective, topped $50 million for the last campaign. From a social perspective, it's obviously massive. People are promoting themselves, catching up with friends. They're doing cross-platform meetups and meets and greets. Obviously, if we're partnering with someone like Nike or Atmos, who are dropping exclusive sneakers in a store, I'm sure everyone here knows a sneakerhead of some sort. The Japanese consumers are definitely not shy to the collecting space. So you can imagine just the PR value and the social sort of talkability we got around that was massive. Yeah, the numbers are huge. It's still growing. It's still happening. It's been really great to see a community that likes this type of technology, that likes these platforms and experiences, embrace it not only in the platform themselves, but they promote it to catch up and meet up and purchase, buy, and experience across basic platforms like Instagram, which is great for us. It's been nothing short of amazing.
Yeah, it sounds it. And on that, you do mention quite a little bit about you were quite fortunate that, or not fortunate, that you're tactical in the fact that you're looking at the Japanese market, who already have a decent understanding of of virtual technologies and are quite happy to engage with platforms of this sort. Well, two questions here. First of all, was the platform open outside of Japan? Was it globally available? And if it was, how many people did you actually have coming outside of Japan to visit the platform as well?
Yeah, so I think for the platform numbers, it was very Japanese centric. Watch this space, what comes in the future. The reason for it being Japanese centric is that it was pushed and marketed to the Japanese audience. If you look at the engagements, the talent, the celebrities, the types of products, the way we were running e-commerce, the way it was promoted, it's very heavy Japanese consumer. Again, this goes back to really understanding the consumer you're after to bring them into a platform. If we try and boil the ocean too quick and bring in other cultures, other countries, I don't think it would have been as successful. But saying that, we're now at a point where we can evolve this platform and experiences to other parts of the world. So it was very Japanese centric. And from an audience perspective, I mean, it's understanding, as you said before, this audience does like this type of technology. We did push and lean really hard into a lot of cultural nuances within the platform. If anyone's been to Tokyo, I'm sure you've been to the gaming arcades, right? And even their movie cinemas, they love this type of stuff, right? From a mobile gaming perspective, they're one of the highest per capita across any demographic as well. So we definitely leaned into the cultural side of this platform for the audiences.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so your goal wasn't to reach too many people outside of the usual Shibuya goers. But if you were to expand on that going forwards in the future, how do you plan on changing how you approach your campaigns or your strategies? How would you think that would become different? What's the main things you would do differently?
Yeah, I think as I said before, I think audience understanding and engagement are the first big ones. The way we see this platform today is really a blank canvas. If we were going to do something for an audience, I'll make it up, let's say for China or for someone in the UK or for France or whatever, I understand language barriers that we have to start to build into all the avatars and the systems, the nuances of how they use technology, how they are sort of using different experiences within social or metaverse platforms. There's a lot of cultural understanding that needs to be built in to make a campaign successful. It would be very much driven by who's the brand, what are they using the platform for, how can we help them build the right experience for that brand, platform, and consumer. So I think it would be very difficult, and we're seeing that now. I think even if I'm sure on VR headset, if you enter certain games or platforms, there's always a bit of language barrier if you speak to someone. The way people are building certain aspects of metaverse across these decentralized platforms are very different culturally as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. So you'd have to answer all those sort of questions first. But I'll take a very pragmatic approach to building a new campaign for an audience that's currently outside of Japan, because at the moment it is very Japan-centric. That's not to say that we couldn't turn the space we're in now, or I'll make it up, Paris Fashion Week or whatever it may be, into this platform very, very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. I can see it being used in these types of events. That's Paris Fashion Week's actually a really good example of that, particularly with people not being able to attend it. I think that's an easy one actually. One of the other things that I touched on during the video was actually being able to get people who had some mobility issues, couldn't normally attend these events. These are great positive outcomes. These are social impacts that are massive as well as from a brand's perspective, but just from the event host in general. What other sort of impacts and effects have you seen that are really positive that you can share with us?
I think I think anyone that was in a city that was locked down understands the isolation. There was an element of loneliness, maybe a little bit of depression, right? There was a grey cloud over a lot of different cities in the world. And some of those clouds lasted a lot longer than others. So the social impacts of these type of platforms, and what we saw with this platform that we did with KDDI, was really, really positive. It's bringing people together that maybe they couldn't see. You got to remember the Halloween in Shibuya is a massive street party. Kids are traveling from all over Japan to attend it, right? Obviously, the costumes are super strong. So people are catching up with friends that they may live hours and hours and hours apart, and they catch up for Halloween. So to give them a platform where they can still catch up and chat and talk, I think is great. As you said, obviously the pandemic's had a massive economic impact for any city and any country, right? So those that did unfortunately lose a job, if you had a job in a cafe and that was now closed, we sort of made sure that if there was an opportunity to sort of come in and be a part of something that we are doing in the virtual space. Those with disability as well, I think it's a great way to to bring people together, give them an opportunity, make them feel like that there's no barrier to entry versus anybody else in this space. And I think that's what makes a metaverse space such a really cool place to engage and to build upon, is because we are all the same from a mobility and technology perspective, right, in this space. So we've seen some really great stories come out, especially across social media, around the interconnections that we've created through Halloween, through this platform, the opportunities that we've given to make a bit of extra money across, one of the biggest nights of the year that used to be great for the bars and tourism. So yeah, it's been all positive, and hopefully we're doing a lot more of this type of work in the future with the platform.
Yeah, I hope so. It would definitely be good to see. As I said, from a judging point of view, one of the things that really standed out was the fact that you went into this sort of detail. You'd thought about the social impact that this platform would have beyond just how is this going to impact numbers, how are we going to get attendance, how are we going to get a brand out there. There was a lot more involved in it, and it really does feel like it was a full effort between not just yourselves, but the whole city, Shibuya. And it seems like just a massive, massive effort to put all this together. So congratulations, guys.
Yeah, and I should caveat, if brands or an agency is sort of seeing this campaign and it looks quite difficult to stand up, I think the important thing to note is this is 2 years in the making of constantly evolving the platform and learning and customer learning, right? This isn't something that we sort of stood up in a day. All the interactions from physical to digital and digital to physical have been meticulously built out, tested, prototyped, added in. There's a lot that didn't work and we've kept them out, but the ones that have worked, we're definitely keeping them in. So it's definitely evolved, and we've gone through the stages of what I'll call Web 1, 2, and 3 from an engagement perspective on the consumer's end. But yeah, very exciting things to come, I'm sure, with the platform.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I think the Web 1, 2, and 3 analogy is a really good one. And it's similar to what a lot of people's experiences are with VR as well when it started. You know, people, the original VR and cardboard, the Oculus Go came out, it was very much more of a passive experience where you're looking at 360 photography or videos. And then that evolved into more interactive experiences as time went on. So I think I think that's a really relatable example. So, you know, we spoke about a lot of the good parts and what's went really well. Is there anything that you can share with us that didn't go so well? Any sort of creative challenges that you may have encountered, or anything in the process, perhaps around governance, privacy? What sort of issues have you seen?
Look, there hasn't been too many issues that are worth pointing out straight away that are big red flags. I mean, I think it's the same for most campaigns. There's obviously creativity from a visualization perspective is always a big one that goes through rounds of changes, and what's possible with rendering and latency speeds, and what's possible within the platform that we have. So we go through a lot of creativity. Obviously, if brands come into our platform, they have to play by our rules from a visual perspective, right? So we don't quite yet have the freedom to sort of have whatever type of graphics or imagery or rendering we want to have in real time. So there's always, and it's not, I don't think it's a massive problem. It's just something that we have to work through. Technology and prototyping from a back-end perspective, there's teams that work around the clock on this platform to keep it up and running. You can think of even things like servers. We never thought we'd have this many people come in. So, you know, there's upgrades to servers and everything like that. But other than that, it's been fairly seamless. It's been very much a test, learn, and adapt approach over 24 months, which has actually been a lot of fun. We've learned so much about this space, of what customers, and especially in our market, are willing to do, try, and be involved in. So I think it's the usual campaign sort of quarrels around advertising and marketing always come up, but that's nothing different from a technology perspective. You know, the testing and learning and adapting and prototyping and making sure renders are coming through properly and servers are updated. I think had a few hiccups, but nothing major to worry about.
That's really impressive stuff. It sounds as though you've taken a very methodical approach to it, and it has taken its time. But even then, you were still one of the first people to sort of dip your toes in this space, and to do and to execute something so well is, for me, really, really impressive. Because we're talking about before everybody knew about the word metaverse. You know, this was something that happened.
This is correct. We called it a virtual world or a city.
Yeah, exactly.
This is pre our good friend Zuckerberg putting metaverse every single LinkedIn feed and Twitter feed that we've seen over the last year. So it's yeah, it was pre, but yeah, we now call it a metaverse.
Exactly. So to everybody here today, how would you, from your point of view, like being that you've went and transitioned from this, it's a multiplayer web platform, a collaborative space that people can work in, to now describing it as a metaverse, how would you explain that to your average person who's maybe never heard the term before? Or, you know, there's a lot of people out there, and a lot, particularly in marketing, who are now using this term quite heavily. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. The term metaverse obviously has become popular from Mark Zuckerberg last year, and with changing Facebook's name to Meta. A metaverse, the way I describe a metaverse, is nothing more than a platform whereby I can log in, jump in, interact with people, interact with brands, have a chat. There's two-way conversation. I might be able to run some transactions. I might watch a movie. You know, we're chatting right now. This to me is a metaverse, right? Now, the platform that you enter that metaverse in is going to change your experience greatly, right? I can start playing Gun Raiders headset that I'm wearing now. It's going to be a very, very different experience to talk and interact with people if I was doing that on a mobile phone or an iPad. So I think it's the platform dictates the experience you're going to get. Simply a metaverse is a space whereby you can engage, speak, catch up, any type of physical activity you have with another human being, you should be able to do that in a virtual world as well. And the experiences are only going to get better.
Yeah, so that's a pretty fair explanation. And I would have said, and probably just got time for one more, would you have had a similar explanation if I'd asked you this 2 years ago?
I would have had a similar explanation. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. 2 years ago, we were trying to do the same thing. Yeah, I think the big thing that's blown this space up is the technology. The technology is moving faster than what marketers can move, to be honest. Right? You know, there's physical reality headsets out there which are unbelievably amazing. I mean, you can fall asleep with this headset on and you'd swear you're in the physical world. You couldn't tell the difference, or your eyes can't physically or mentally tell the difference between virtual and physical, which is unbelievable. You know, and this should come commercially available to everyone in the next 1 to 3 years. It's commercially available now. It's just the price is so high.
Yeah. So is that what you see is what's next for this space?
I think the big thing that's next for this space is letting. I think that there's a lot of hype in this space, and it sort of does bring in a bit of the blockchain world, and NFT and crypto space into it. There's a lot of hype. I think what everyone wants to know is what's going to be the platform that we should build on, that we should buy into. And I don't think anybody has the answer for that yet. I personally think it's a platform that doesn't currently exist, and my money would be on Microsoft to own that space in the next 5 years. But I think there's going to be multiple platforms, multiple worlds that offer multiple different experiences for consumers.
Yeah, I think most people would agree with you on that one. Definitely. Excellent. Thanks, Chris. Well,
Pleasure.
I can see now it's time for some Q&A, as I've been prompted by the slides. So if anybody's got any questions, if you could just raise your hand using the emote function or the raise your hand function at the bottom right, and you should be able to unmute yourself and speak to me. No, that's all right. That's all good. That's fine. Well, I think that's it, Chris. I think that's it for everyone. Is there any? Do you want to leave your details in case anyone wants to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can catch me. I think the LinkedIn's and emails, best possible place. Just Chris Hilton. You'll find me at Ogilvy for Japan. I'm actually physically based in Hong Kong, so Chris Hilton Ogilvy. You know, at location Hong Kong, office is Tokyo. But you know, the Twitter and everything else, you'll definitely find me if you're mildly interested in anything Web3, crypto, NFT space. You can definitely check out my Twitter feed as well. It's just Chris Hilton _.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And that's us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Have a good day, everyone.
Cheers.